When I was telling people that I was going to Luxembourg, I got questions like, what's Luxembourg, where, what, who, why? For those of you who don't know, it's a country in between France, Belgium, and Germany. I get how this can be confusing for some people because Belgium also has a region called Luxembourg. But in this video, I'm talking about the country of Luxembourg, with the main focus on its capital city, which is also called Luxembourg. It has two sides, the lower side and the upper side. The lower side is more like a village within a city. Underneath most bridges is the lower side of town. Here on the lower side there's a skate park, and on the upper side there's also a town. The lower side looks more residential. You can do a lot more outdoor activities, whereas the upper side is more commercial. Here, it even shows in the differences in architecture. The more modern looking buildings are usually offices in most cities. You can get around the two sides by driving or public transport. If you like walking, you can get around by these paths, but you really need a lot of energy. Especially if you need to walk up. You wouldn't even need to go to the gym if you live here. I was so unprepared for the walk down the lower side, but this is not even as bad as some of the other paths. Some paths have stairs, and that is not easy. I guess Luxembourg is not lazy people friendly. You can also get around by using public lifts or elevators, but I only know of two in the city center, so you would still have to do a lot of walking to your destination. This one is called the Pathfinder elevator. It's a glass elevator, so you get a really good view of the lower side of the town. This lift takes you straight to the city center on the upper side, and it's free of charge. I mean, all of public transport in Luxembourg is free. I have another video where I go into more details about the free public transport in Luxembourg. I'll leave the link in the description if you want to know more. The Pathfinder lift is 71 meters high. It's quite big. You can also fit bikes in it. This red bridge is called the Grand Duchess Charlotte Bridge. It connects the city center to Luxembourg's financial district, Kitchberg. Cars, trams, and pedestrians can use the bridge. This town is also called Pathfinder. It's a lot more quiet compared to the upper side. It almost feels like you've gone to a different city. I have to say, the infrastructure is really impressive, the way they connected the two sides, even the roads, the way they connect to each other. This is the lift from the lower side. The lift has opening and closing times, so it's better to double check before you plan to visit. If you want to cycle around the city, you can rent these bikes. They're not part of the free public transport, so you have to pay a really small fee, like €2 a day. This is inside Pathfinder. It looks like a standard European village. It ticks the starter park, the church in the middle, the river, restaurants here and there, the roads made of stones. You can also book tours like this tour bus to learn more about its history. Personally, I really enjoyed walking around this area. The land is flat and it has a lot of nature. It would be nice to have a flat here, but I don't even want to know how much it would cost. There's a housing shortage in Luxembourg, so rent prices are very high. I mean, I saw quite a few abandoned houses here. If renovated, that's more housing for a lot of people. Another thing is, a lot of people have migrated here in the past few years, but houses are not being built at the same pace, which puts a strain on housing. Just like a lot of countries, the capital city is usually more expensive to rent. The city of Luxembourg is also more expensive to rent compared to other cities in Luxembourg. Because of the housing shortages, a lot of people who work in Luxembourg have to live in the neighboring countries, which is Belgium, France, and Germany. An estimated 200,000 people commute from these countries to Luxembourg every single day. If you're wondering why not just work in those countries, then, well, on average, Luxembourg's wages are higher than Germany, France, and Belgium. So some people would rather earn Luxembourg's wages and pay cheaper bills in the neighboring countries. It also helps that the country of Luxembourg is small. It's only about double the size of London. You can drive to either Belgium, France, and Germany from Luxembourg the city in an hour. if there's no traffic, of course. I think Luxembourg is actually a lot busier during weekdays because all of the commuters are here. Weekends has less people in the streets, but I think this is kind of changing now after the population started to grow. Last time when I was here in 2017, weekends were so calm, but now they're kind of busy. I did film in a time though where everything was kind of closed, so that's why it looks like it's empty, but usually there's a lot of people around. This is the other side of the lower town, the Grund. The Grund, the whole town or village or whatever it is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Here's another lift to the upper side. The Grund is a lot more lively compared to Pfaffendahl. It usually has a lot more tourists as well. Most parts are very Instagrammable. It looks like a set of a fairy tale movie. It would make a good set for a live action movie for Disney or Netflix. I recorded this in winter, but it looks more beautiful in summer. When I was here, I actually forgot that this is also a residential area. Some of these are actually people's homes. I was just so focused on how unique it looked. In the Grund, you can find some of the best restaurants in Luxembourg. I really would like to know how they planned this village. It looks like it doesn't have variety because the advertisements are not so loud. I suppose if it's a World Heritage Site, they cannot change it too much. A lot of restaurants seem hidden, but there's lots of them. French, Portuguese, Japanese, Italian. And here there's a Michelin star one. I don't know what cuisine this is, but if it's Michelin, it's gotta be good. Bofferding. I think that's how you pronounce it, but it's a Luxembourgish beer brand. It's everywhere in Luxembourg. It's on a lot of restaurants. The streets are so narrow, I don't know how people drive without knocking out the buildings. This place looks even better in summer. You can actually watch my Luxembourg playlist for shots to see how some of these places look like in summer. I'll leave the link in the description. This stone-looking thing actually has defense tunnels. They call them the Borg Casemates. So Luxembourg City has 23 kilometers of defense tunnels. This is how they look like inside. With an entrance fee, they only show you a bit of them, not the whole 23 kilometers. I guess it's a military secret. When you're in these tunnels, you get another good view of the lower side of the town. You really would never know if somebody was watching you from here. I highly recommend this tour, especially if you're into military stuff. Here is the view from the upper side of town. You can see the financial district, Kirchberg, and the Grund. Here on the upper side, I think it's just called the center, but if I'm wrong, please do let me know in the comment box. Since this side has more offices, supermarkets, restaurants, it's usually busy. This place is usually packed with tourists. It's also the place where you can get the lift to the lower side. One thing I love about Luxembourg is that you'd be casually walking, then you find out this is one of the royal family's residence. Just with one security guard, no fence whatsoever, just like that. In the middle of the high street, as if you're walking past Primark or something. I actually think some Primarks have more security than this. I wish my phone had a wider range to capture the full building. It's really cool. This is the city center's shopping district. McDonald's really is everywhere. I don't know why, but Burger King is always right next to it as well. The shopping district has a lot of luxury brands. It doesn't have a lot of options for affordable shopping. I've actually heard a lot of locals go to the neighboring countries for shopping. So they would go to cities like Trier, Saarbrücken, Thionville. I think the restaurants are affordable though, maybe even cheaper than London. On the other hand, there isn't a lot of options for food delivery. It's hard to get food delivered unless you live in the city center. It also doesn't help that they don't have Uber Eats or Uber in general, so you really have to go out for takeout. I just have to say, unless you're loaded, don't get a taxi in this country or you will regret it. Some drivers won't even do short journeys because they can't charge you too much. It's really expensive. On my way from the airport to a hotel, the journey was about, I would say, 5 minutes. I got charged about 50 euros. I think it would be even cheaper to rent a car. The free public transport is good, but of course it has a schedule. Most lines won't run after midnight, which makes it hard to stay out later. Some parts really look like Paris. I guess Luxembourg is neighbors with France, so they influence each other one way or another. To be fair, most European architecture looks very similar to each other. I think this place is actually also called Place de Paris. Sorry for butchering that. When it comes to culture, Luxembourg is very multicultural. The official languages are Luxembourgish, French, and German. Most native Luxembourgish people are fluent in all of the three languages. All of the ones I've met are fluent in more than 4 languages. And when you're in the city center, you will hear a lot of different languages. The most common being French, Italian, and English. I have to say it's very hard to find anyone who speaks Luxembourgish or a native Luxembourgish person in general, but if you're curious on how Luxembourgish sounds like, it's like a mixture of French and German. Every city these days has a financial district. Now, let's explore Luxembourg's financial district, Kirchberg. Considering its size, Luxembourg has a lot of banks. It has over 122 banks in total, so a lot of the buildings in Kirchberg are banks. It has a mixture of American banks, French, German, Dutch, and a lot more, so it's very international. Just like the demographics in Luxembourg City, you can meet people from so many parts of the world in just a day. This street is actually called John F. Kennedy. It's named after the US president. I don't know why, but if you do know, let me know in the comments. This building right here is the National Library of Luxembourg. The University of Luxembourg also has a campus in this area. Apparently, Kirchberg was mainly farmlands 25 years ago, and there was hardly anything here. Most offices were in the city center, and when its economy grew bigger, they needed a proper financial district, and so Kirchberg was developed. Luxembourg is one of the capital cities of the EU, together with Brussels in Belgium and Strasbourg in France. The Secretariat of the European Parliament office is also located here. I believe this is the building, just right here. You can see all the flags like in the background, all of the EU flags. You can see how much they benefit from the European Union because of the free movement and visa-free situation. Luxembourg benefits from a skilled workforce without investing a lot in education. It doesn't have the pressure to build more schools or universities. I mean, the whole country only has 2 universities, so they can just get most of the skilled labor that was educated by other EU countries. It just offers them other social benefits and higher wages, I suppose, because Luxembourg's got one of the highest GDPs in the world. The highest court of justice in the European Union, the ECJ, is also located in Luxembourg. It's these golden buildings. Luxembourg actually has a lot of European Union institutions. The banks as well, of course, the European Investment Bank. There's even a school intended for European Union workers' kids. This was a typical work day. It doesn't look that busy, but there are really a lot of people in the offices. It really shows during rush hour. Actually, if you visit Luxembourg, avoid traveling around rush hour. The traffic is mad. The public transport is packed as well. Okay, now what most people are curious about. Why is Luxembourg rich? Well, partly because it has a very sophisticated financial industry. it has a reputation of being a tax haven, but other EU countries like Hungary have way lower corporate taxes. In my opinion, remember when I said a big part of its workforce lives in the neighboring countries? This means these types of commuters don't need to use social benefits in Luxembourg, but they contribute in driving its economy and paying taxes. Basically, they use things like healthcare and schools in their countries of residence. The Lux government doesn't need to invest so much in these types of welfare, so this leaves money for the government to spend it on things like free public transport. If you're wondering why you didn't see any luxury cars, do they even have billionaires? Well, I think most wealthy Luxembourgers are discreet about their wealth. They don't want you to know they're rich. I guess it's for safety reasons. Some people just want to live a normal life as well, and some have questionable ways on how they got so rich, so they don't really want to be out there and get criticized. So it's not really clear on how many billionaires Luxembourg has, but we know for sure a lot of billionaires keep some of their money in the banks in Luxembourg. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please comment down below and tell me what you think about Luxembourg. Please also like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.